Hello and welcome. Tonight, rumblings in the All Progressives Congress, police besiege party secretariat in Abuja, new leadership emerges as Governor Bonny's caretaker committee maintains it is still in charge. Suspended Deputy Commissioner of Police Abba Kyari and 6 others arraigned for the second time for drug-related offences at the Federal High Court Abuja. 2 co-defendants plead not guilty. Chairman of the EFCC gives account of stewardship 1 year after he assumed duty. Says Commission has recorded 2,220 convictions and recovered assets worth over 152 billion naira. And Ukraine claims Russia's steady shelling is preventing passage of civilians, despite a proposal from Russia to create safe escape routes out of Kyiv, Mariupol, Sumy and Kharkiv. Plus, more from our London studio in Around the World in 5.
On business news tonight, 4 of the world's biggest accounting firms announced pullout from Russia and Belarus in response to Ukraine's invasion.
On sports news tonight, the return leg of the UEFA Champions League round of 16 fixtures begins on Tuesday night as Liverpool host Inter Milan at Anfield.
And from the nation's capital, federal government inaugurates committee to renegotiate existing agreement with the Academic Staff Union of Universities. ASUU vows to resist move by the government.
The leadership crisis in the ruling All Progressives Congress, APC, appears to have taken a new twist as the Niger State Governor, Bello, today announced that he has taken over as the acting national chairman of the party. As a way of validating his claim, the governor also swore in the 36th state chairman of the APC at the party secretariat in Abuja. The governor of Niger State says he swore in the state chairman as the new acting chairman of the party, but declined to comment on whether Governor Bonny has been removed as caretaker chairman. Our correspondent Terry Kumi reports.
An unusual presence of policemen is observed early Monday morning at the APC National Secretariat. The roads leading to the Secretariat are cordoned off as security is beefed up amid rumors of the removal of the caretaker committee chairman, who is also the governor of Yobe State, Bonny. Only staff and journalists are allowed into the Secretariat. Inside the Secretariat, the 36th state chairman-elect of the party are seated, waiting to be sworn in. Members of the caretaker committee are present, including the national secretary who had earlier released a statement debunking rumors of the removal of Governor Bonny as party chairman. While Bonny is absent, sitting in his place is the governor of Niger State, who eventually conducts the swearing-in. He then charges the newly sworn-in state chairman on good leadership on behalf of the caretaker committee, while insisting that there is no rancor within the APC leadership.
Whatever actions you take, put at the back of your mind the principle of fairness, equity, and justice. So on behalf of President Muhammadu Buhari and members of the caretaker committee, I would like to congratulate you and wish you a safe journey back to your respective states. We don't have any issues. So a committee has been set up and there's an ongoing reconciliation to get a political solution.
The state chairmen are related to be finally sworn in.
For the past few weeks, we've been waiting for this type of thing to happen. Having done it today, we give glory to God, and we chairmen, we promise that we will always be by the side of APC.
By the swearing-in ceremony today, we are complete as chairman. We can go back to our various states with authority, full authority for that matter, and then exercise our duties without any fear or favor, without our own personal interest, but for the interest of the party.
Moments later, some progressive governors arrive to witness the submission of the report of the zoning committee to the caretaker committee, now headed by Governor Bello of Niger State. At the end of the meeting, the Niger State governor had this to say about the events of the day.
We right now received a report from the zoning committee, headed by the governor of Kwara and the deputy senate president. We earlier on saw in the state party chairman, and at the same time we deliberated on progress made so far towards convention. And I think I'm satisfied with what has been done so far.
Governor Abba Bello also makes it plain that he is now the acting chairman of the APC.
Acting chairman of APC and governor of Niger State.
Chairman of the caretaker committee?
Caretaker committee, yes. Acting chairman, caretaker committee.
Okay, so what's the position of Bonny this moment?
I'm not aware of any position at the moment. I know he has traveled.
While there's no official statement from the APC on the status of Governor Mai Mala Buni, who until now was the caretaker committee chairman of the party, Governor Abba Bello maintains that he has the support of the progressive governors and President Muhammadu Buhari. Terry Ikumi, Channels Television News.
Meanwhile, the National Secretary of the APC, Senator John Akpanodo Dehe, has debunked rumours of a change in leadership of the Caretaker Extraordinary Convention Planning Committee. In a statement, the APC scribe said the speculation should be disregarded as it is fake news. According to him, the APC is a progressive political party guided by rules, where leadership changes are not announced through name-dropping in the media. He urged supporters and members of the party, as well as the public, to support the Governor Mai Mala Buni APC-led APC Caretaker Committee to conduct a rancor-free and credible national convention come March the 26th, 2022. Well, away from the APC to Osun State, where all appears set for the People's Democratic Party primary tomorrow ahead of the governorship election on July the 16th, 2022. 6 persons are contending for the ticket of the PDP in the election. But hours to the exercise, one of the leading aspirants, Dr. Akin Ogunbiyi, pulled out of the race. He is from Ayedire local government area of the state, and he's alleging bias in the run-up to the primary, claiming that he was informed not to waste his money. And ahead of the 2023 general election, speakers at the ongoing policy dialogue by the National Institute for Legislative and Democratic Studies are asking young Nigerians to get involved in partisan politics in order to get the best out of the 2018 Not Too Young to Run Act. According to them, although the act has addressed the issue of age barrier, it does not remove blocks associated with the cost of nomination forms, as well as the politics around the selection of candidates.
Heads of youth organizations, members of the civil society movement, as well as the House Committee Chairman on Youth Development are attending this policy dialogue organized by the National Institute for Legislative and Democratic Studies. The dialogue focuses on how young people can leverage on the opportunities provided by the 2018 Not Too Young to Run Act to increase youth participation in the 2023 general elections. The program's director, Yaga Africa, lists some of the gains made by young people owing to the enactment of the Not Too Young to Run Act, while highlighting existing barriers that young politicians still contend with.
We had 101 young people between 25 and 35 who won their elections. Now, that for us was a major growth, but the young people were facing major challenges. First, the party primary process. We had higher number of youth aspirants, but post the primaries, the numbers dropped.
President Muhammadu Buhari signed the Not Too Young to Run Act in 2018, dismantling the age barrier which had prevented young people from contesting elections. 4 years after that law was signed, it is obvious that the act alone does not guarantee the desired political space that young people are agitating for.
Bringing that age down is the first foundation to allow young people. It's an affirmation that the law is trusting young people that, okay, we think you can do that. Then the next stage when we're trying to engage, implement, and ensure the effectiveness of those is to engage political parties. Because right now, political parties are the ones that produce our candidates for us. And as such, we must engage political parties.
Not too young to run. You cannot run in Abuja. You have to go back to Ekiti and run. You have to go back to Jigawa and run. You have to go back to Anambra and run. There's not going to be a time when there's going to be a meeting in Nigeria that anybody above 40, they will just have a meeting and say, oh, we are leaving the stage for people that are less than 40. It's not going to be. You have to compete.
Since 2018, the Nigeria political space has witnessed more youth participation, and many believe that a combination of that law and the recently signed Electoral Act will encourage more young people to contest for political offices in 2023.
To other stories, the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency has arraigned suspended Deputy Commissioner of Police, Mr. Abba Kyari, and 6 others for drug trafficking-related offences. Among the suspects are 2 civilians who pleaded guilty and asked the trial judge, Justice Emeka Nwite of the Federal High Court Abuja, for mercy. Mr. Kyari and the remaining co-defendants, who are also police officers, pleaded not guilty.
Dressed in his native attire, the suspended Deputy Commissioner of Police, Mr. Abba Kyari, and 6 others are in court ahead of their arraignment over alleged drug trafficking and related offences. The NDLEA is charging him alongside 6 others, including 4 police officers and 2 civilians, for alleged conspiracy, obstruction and dealing in cocaine worth 17.55 kilograms. They are also accused of tampering with 21.25 kilograms of cocaine. While Mr. Kyari and the 4 police officers pleaded not guilty, the 2 civilians pleaded guilty. Upon taking their plea, counsel to Mr. Kyari, Mr. Kanu Agabi, asks the court to remand his client in custody of the NDLEA and not in prison custody, pending the hearing and determination of their fresh application for bail. The prosecution applied for a trial date and for a review of facts in respect of the defendants that pleaded guilty to the charge. However, Kyari's counsel argues that the charge against the defendants contained bailable offences and wants the court not to accede to the request for a review of facts in respect of the 2 civilians. His argument is that the review of facts will prejudice the case. He prayed the court to put the review on hold pending the conclusion of the trial of the police officers. However, the prosecution counsel, Mr. Joseph Sunday, insists that the review would not have any effect on cases involving the police officers. He wants the court to sentence the civilians, Mr. Chibunna Muibe and Mr. Emeka Ezenwanne, since they have pleaded guilty.
I would like to concentrate on my application for bail in respect of our client. I wouldn't want to go into life issues that are still pending before the court. The court is yet to rule on that. We're yet to submit our written addresses in that respect. Well, there are normal grounds that are captured by law. No, that judgment remains. It's for bail.
The trial judge, Justice Emeka Nwite, adjourns the case to March 28 for hearing and review of facts, while the defendants are to be remanded in the custody of the NDLEA, pending the hearing of their bail applications slated for March 14, 2022.
Well, outside the country, Yoruba Nation activist Sunday Adeomo, also known as Sunday Igboho, has been released from detention in the Republic of Benin after about 8 months. The activist was released today to the leader of the umbrella body of Yoruba self-determination groups, Ilana Omo Odua Worldwide, Professor Banji Akintoye, and his deputy, a French language expert and chieftain of Ilana Omo Odua Worldwide, Professor Wale Adeniran. In a statement, Professor Akintoye described the release of Igboho as a triumph over truth over darkness. Igboho's release follows requests by his lawyer for him to receive medical attention within Cotonou, the capital of Benin Republic. The couple left Nigeria shortly after DSS operatives raided their Ibadan residence on July the 1st, 2021. Mr. Igboho was arrested in the Republic of Benin on his way to Germany July the 19th, 2021, alongside his wife. In part 2, after the break, police arrest driver of a bus rapid transit over the disappearance and killing of a passenger, 22-year-old fashion designer Oluwabamise Ayonwole. Please join us again. Welcome back. If you just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Chaos in the All Progressives Congress. The police occupy party secretariat in Abuja. New leadership emerges. Governor Bonny's caretaker committee maintains it's still in charge. Suspended Deputy Commissioner of Police Abba Kyari and 6 others arraigned at the Federal High Court Abuja. 2 co-defendants plead not guilty. Chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission gives account of stewardship 1 year after he assumed duty. And Ukraine claims Russia's steady shelling is preventing passage of civilians as part of a proposal from Russia to create safe escape routes out of Kyiv, Mariupol, Sumy and Kharkiv. Continue with the judiciary. The ASUU State High Court has denied the bail applications by Mr. Ramon Adedoye and 6 others charged in the murder of Timothy Adegoke, a master student of Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife, who was allegedly killed at the Hilton Royal Hotel, Ile-Ife. The presiding judge and chief judge of ASUU State, in her ruling, refused their bail application, citing the nature of the case and on the ground that the correctional centre has all necessary facilities to cater for those with non-critical medical conditions. Mr. Adedoye is the owner of the Hilton Hotel and Resort, Ile-Ife, where Adegoke was said to have been killed. He was charged with attempted felony, conspiracy, unlawful interference with Adegoke's corpse, tampering with the hotel's receipts and CCTV with the intent to destroy evidence that would prove that the victim visited the hotel. The driver of a bus rapid transit BRT, which 22-year-old fashion designer Oluwabamise Anyonwole boarded, but whose body was later found on a bridge in Lagos, has been arrested in Ogun State. It was gathered that the suspect, who disappeared into thin air after the incident, was arrested by DSS operatives in the Odogbolu area of Ogun State. The Lagos State Police Public Relations Officer had confirmed to Channels Television that the police had arrested 2 persons linked to the driver. Ms. Oluwabamise went missing after she boarded the BRT at Chevron bus stop in the Ajah area to Oshodi on her way to Ota in Ogun State in the evening of February 26th, but her body was later found on the Carter Bridge. And 1 year after he assumed office as chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, Mr. Abdulrasheed Bawa has reiterated his commitment to enhance institution building as well as make the commission intelligence and technology driven. At his first official interface with the media in Lagos today, Mr. Bawa encouraged Nigerians to make more use of the EFCC's Eagle app to report activities of cybercrime among the youth, noting that it does untold damage to the economy and national reputation.
Good morning. Good morning. Madam. Good morning. Morning. Madam.
We have restructured our departments and units at the EFCC. We have also restructured the Special Control Unit against money laundering. We have made policies and manuals, some of which, of course, will soon be launched by the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. We have carried out welfare reforms of our staff. Our training and retraining activities have been enhanced. We have rehabilitated our EFCC Academy for the betterment of our own institution building as well as capacity development. We have engaged with critical stakeholders both within and outside the country for the collaborative efforts that we feel and we believe that is the only way we can deal with the problem at hand. All of these reforms translated into improvement in the Commission's overall performance in 2021, in which we reported that we have secured 2,220 recorded convictions in various courts across the Federation, as well as recovery of 152 billion, as well as 386 million US dollars, among others. Let me assure you that this is just the beginning. The EFCC, under my watch, shall be the law enforcement agency to beat.
And we have more stories from Abuja studios with Terry Kumi. Hello, Terry.
Hello, Millicent. Let's go to the ongoing industrial action by university lecturers. The federal government has inaugurated a 7-man committee to renegotiate the 2009 agreement reached with the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASUU. The committee is chaired by Emeritus Professor Nimi Briggs and has been given a period of 3 months to conclude the renegotiation with ASUU. It is expected to review the draft proposed agreement with clear terms of reference.
You will recall that the renegotiation of the 2009 agreements between the federal government and university-based unions, which are 4, ASUU, SANU, NAT, and NASU, commenced on Monday, February 13, 2017. However, due to a number of unforeseen circumstances, especially the COVID-19 pandemic, the exercise has had to stop, and it has dragged on till now. The committee, which is expected to review the draft proposed federal government ASUU agreement, has the following terms of reference, 4 of them. Number 1, it is to liaise and consult with all relevant stakeholders in order to finalize the position of the federal government on the issues in the draft proposed negotiated agreement. Number 2, to renegotiate realistic and workable terms the 2009 agreement with other university-based unions. Number 3, to negotiate and recommend any other issue the committee deems relevant to the position of the university system to achieve global competitiveness. And 4, to submit proposed draft agreement within 3 months from the date of inauguration, that is from today. Today is the 7th. Therefore, April, May, 7th June, I hope, or before, we'll be able to get the result from it.
Meanwhile, the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASUU, has been reacting to the move by the federal government to renegotiate the 2009 agreement with the university lecturers, describing it as another ploy by the government to swindle the union. ASUU President Professor Emmanuel Osodeke told Channels Television that the union is not party to the newly inaugurated committee, as all negotiations ended since May 2021. He also faulted the 3-month timeline given to the new committee, insisting that it runs contrary to all earlier information concerning the government's considerations of the renegotiations they had in 2021. The lecturers say the federal government should be held responsible if the ongoing industrial action continues beyond the 1 month initially declared. 1.3 trillion naira, that's the total sum that 51 oil and gas companies in the country are owing the federal government. And that's according to the Nigeria Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative, NAITI, in its 2020 audit report. Briefing the media in Abuja, the Executive Secretary of NAITI, Mr. Bonny, explains that the federal government earned $20 billion from the oil and gas sector in 2020, with 106 billion naira paid as subsidy between January 2020 and December 2020.
It's another time to take stock of happenings in the nation's extractive industry, especially the oil and gas sector. This meeting follows a directive by the federal government since 2003 to open up the extractive industry to public accountability. After months of background work, the books of NAITI are open once again, and it shows key findings, especially the size of the liabilities of oil companies to the federal government.
The number of companies owing have dropped to 51 companies. And these are collectible revenues that are due to the former DPR, now with the authority and their FRS. We have disaggregated figures on who is owing what exactly, and which of the companies that are owing. 77 were owing 6.36 billion before, but from our report in 2020, as of December 2020, that figure has dropped.
The latest report from NAITI outlines the specific revenue streams that accounted for these liabilities. They include royalty oil, royalty gas, concession rentals, petroleum profit tax, company income tax, education tax, as well as value-added tax, withholding tax, among others. And this is to make necessary recommendations to ensure transparency in the nation's oil and gas sector.
Nigeria must muster the courage to deal with this subsidy issue once and for all. NITI has made this recommendation since 2006, but governments, we are aware of the total picture, when and how to remove the subsidy. But our position is clear: remove subsidy.
We are committed to providing NITI or any other person information and data that relates to either our agency role on behalf of the Federation or our job as a limited liability company.
This is the 13th cycle of the Independent Oil and Gas Industry Report by NITI in fulfillment of Nigeria's obligation to the Global Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative Protocol. The agency hopes to unveil details of the reports for the solid minerals sector and the fiscal allocation and statutory disbursement at a later date.
Meanwhile, efforts are on to elevate Africa's indigenous oil producers as the next generation of project producers involved in the equity financing of exploration and field development activities. This is according to the Nigerian Content Development and Monitoring Board, NCDMB. This, among other matters, were top on the agenda during the inaugural Africa Local Content Investment Forum in Lagos.
The need for African countries with oil and gas to source for sustainable funding for their projects comes under focus at the Made in Africa Local Content Investment Forum in Lagos. The forum, hosted by the Nigerian Content Development and Monitoring Board, brings together leaders in the oil and gas industry, financial sector, regulators and regional bodies to shape the future of the sector amidst energy transition realities.
It is of a bit of a comfort that some African countries have made some inroads in securing funding and investment for the development of hydrocarbon projects, with strategic partnerships with countries that have not turned themselves to oil and gas adversaries, such as China and India. Other African countries are also doing their bit to develop infrastructure and processing plants for the hydrocarbon value chain, but there is more to be done.
The Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, who was represented by the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry, Dr. Nasir Gwadzo, urges Africa to develop its own technology to navigate the transition while continuing to exploit hydrocarbons.
The Africa Continental Free Trade Area Agreement and its growth aspirations can only be actualized if we have a very vibrant oil and gas sector in view of the oil industry's capacity to harness resources from other sectors. Africa has abundance of renewable energy sources, including sunlight, water, wind, and biomass. However, the technology needed to convert these sources to energy requiring huge funding if we are to avoid dependence on foreign technology.
The Africa Local Content Investment Forum is in furtherance of the Nigerian Content 10-year strategic roadmap, which has a key aspiration to promote local content across the African continent and ensure access to market for oil and gas capacities that have been developed locally.
Still ahead on the news at 10, NNPC Limited lists 48 stations in Abuja where motorists could get petrol in 24 hours. Join us again.
And to some more company news. As part of its corporate social responsibility, the Nigerian Liquefied Natural Gas, in partnership with Julius Baga Nigeria PLC, has reconstructed the 197-year-old Bonny consulate building. It's an edifice with rich cultural significance to the Grand Bonny Kingdom. The building is to serve as tourist attraction and investment hub to the over 20,000 tourists who visit Bonny Island.
The first ever consulate building, which served as the base for most colonial administrative activities in Bonny, was quite visible at the Grand Bonny Kingdom in 1897. Wearing a new look, this edifice with its cultural significance has been reconstructed by the Nigerian Liquefied Natural Gas Limited in partnership with construction giant Julius Berger PLC after the signing of an MOU. And now ready for inauguration, the managing directors of NLNG Limited and Julius Berger PLC highlight the importance of the building and why this intervention was necessary.
The building, as it is today, has been designed and furnished to support the kingdom towards the development of its rich tourism potentials in a bid to diversify the economy and reduce the community's reliance on oil and gas operations.
As far back as the 15th century, Bonny was a major international trading post, which has over time transformed into a central hub and key focal point for natural gas exploration and production in Nigeria. For Julius Berger, Bonny Island has a long been an important project location.
Governor of Rivers State, represented by his deputy, Dr. Ipalibo Banigo, commends the companies for their gesture. She notes that the building still remains the charm of its first structure.
This fittingly keys into the vision that we have of making Bonny an investment and tourism destination. And I believe that it's on a wider range, fits very well into the master plan that we have all envisaged for Bonny.
Justice of peace.
The Amayanabo of Grand Bonny Kingdom appreciates the Nigerian LNG and Julius Berger Nigeria PLC for their commitment in fulfilling his Bonny Dubai vision for the kingdom.
The contribution of this iconic building to the growth of tourism as a potential income generation industry in Bonny is in no doubt, as we behold the magnificence and historic import of this edifice that stands before us.
The Nigerian Liquefied Natural Gas Company Limited has also flagged off the malaria eradication project in Bonny by distributing treated mosquito nets to many households in Grand Bonny Kingdom.
Staying in the Niger Delta, the governor of Abia State, Igboho Ikpeazu, has commended Governor Nyesom Wike of Rivers State for expanding the frontiers of development in the state through his urban renewal program. Governor Ikpeazu stated this while commissioning a road network in the new GRA of Port Harcourt, the River State capital, which Governor Wike says is part of the investment to encourage economic growth.
Governor Nyesom Wike of Rivers State arriving in GRA Phase 2 Port Harcourt alongside his Abia State counterpart, Governor Okezie Ikpeazu, amongst others, for the commissioning of the reconstructed Oro Boom Crescent.
His Excellency Okezie Ikpeazu, PhD.
It's about the last set of road networks in this entire upper middle class neighborhood to be reconstructed under the urban renewal and rural generation agenda of the Governor Wike administration since assuming office about 8 years ago.
Our Boom Crescent, the subject of today's ceremony, is one of such completely reconstructed roads. It has not only been made delightsomely motorable, but has been expanded from 7.3 meters wide to 10.4 meters wide.
Impressed by the infrastructure development agenda in Rivers State, the special guest recommends the Wike style of leadership as a model in Nigeria and a major criteria in deciding the next phase of leaders.
It is a thing of joy that a governor, a leader, can stand before his people and ask this very pregnant question: is there any other road left in this neighborhood? Not everybody will find courage to ask that same question.
For Governor Wike, providing good road network is one of the best social investments in growing the local economy.
We are happy that today people appreciate how Port Harcourt, how we have brought back Port Harcourt to be what it used to be. I'm sure those of you who know GRA very well and know this Honorable Crescent, you will appreciate why people are happy. And when you have good roads, obviously, business, since we thrive,
The road is then commissioned.
In the name of God the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
This new addition will further ease movement and increase the value of real estate in this neighborhood.
We have more company news. Hypo Home Care Product Limited, manufacturers of Hypo Toilet Cleaner, has launched the Hypo Toilet Rescue Volunteer, a program aimed at recruiting selfless Nigerians interested in the provision and maintenance of safe toilets across communities. At the launch of the program at the National Youth Service Corps Camp in Agege, Lagos, the brand manager, Hypo Toilet Cleaner, Chidera Anele, said the initiative seeks to scale up its toilet intervention measures by incorporating a large number of people in the exercise.
According to the World Health Organization, 3.6 billion people don't have toilets, and nearly half of the world's population live without a safely managed sanitation service. To stem this tide in Nigeria, Hypo Toilet Cleaner, a product from Hypo Home Care, has been taking the sanitation campaign around the country. This time is the turn of the National Youth Service Corps Camp in Lagos for the formal introduction of the Hypo Toilet Rescue Volunteer.
If you're interested in ensuring that the people within your community live with hygienic toilets, safe toilets, Hypo Toilet Cleaner can make that happen. All you need to do is to volunteer to become a Hypo Toilet Rescue, a volunteer, and then we can take up the journey from there. And as the toilets come, we'll get involved fully.
With over 50 toilet rescues done in 2021, the Hypo brand seeks to do more and believes that volunteers from the NYSC will help scale up the intervention. One plan that aligns with a selfless service being promoted by the Corps
is for them to understand that you must serve your country with the whole of your heart. It's not that you are being forced to serve, but you are here to render a selfless service. And that is what Hypo is doing. So NYSC core members are keen into that same vision, and they must do with the whole of their heart, so that at the end of the day, we'll be very happy that we have achieved the purpose and the Nigerian society is better off for it. Yes.
They have all the ideas, and we too, we have the personnel to run with them in that race. So it's a perfect combination. Yes.
The youth corpers say this is a task well understood.
Basically, a lot of people, like a larger percentage of people in Nigeria, are living with unhygienic toilets. And Hypo is here to stand a chance to change that, so that it will reduce the number of people that are dying resulting from toilet disease. So I'm proud to be a volunteer of the Hypo Toilet Rescue Volunteer.
For Hypo Home Care Limited, its volunteer program is a call on all stakeholders to prioritize sanitation and hygiene, as this remains the easiest method of combating the spread of diseases in the environment.
Let's delve more into the world of business. Here's Anne Wilder.
Thanks a lot, Millicent. Hello and welcome to Business News. 4 of the world's biggest accounting firms say they have pulled out their business operations in Russia and in Belarus in the latest round of multinational firms responding to the invasion of Ukraine. In a statement released today, Ernst & Young and Deloitte mentioned that they joined their other 2 contemporaries, KPMG and PricewaterhouseCoopers, which announced their exit from Russia on Sunday after 30 years of doing business in the country. The move is coming at the most significant departures from Russia by global professional services groups since the war in Ukraine started last month. KPMG has more than 4,500 workers and partners in Russia and Belarus. The EY also has 4,700. PricewaterhouseCoopers has 3,700, while Deloitte has 3,000 workers there. The Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation Limited, NNPC, has identified 48 fuel stations where motorists living in the Abuja city and its environs could get petrol throughout 24 hours with effect from tonight, March the 7th, 2022. According to a statement released today, the fuel stations mentioned are NNPC Mega Station Zone 1, Abuja, Total Filling Station near Police Headquarters, Con Oil Petrol Station opposite Abuja Towers, and Owando Petrol Station located in Zone 1 in Abuja. At the same time, motorists can also go to Adrova Petrol Station at Transcorp, Adrova Petrol Station at IBB Way, Adrova Petrol Station at Zone 1, and the same petrol station at the Life Camp and station at Apo. Others are Eterna Oil Petrol Station in Wuse Zone 2, Owando at Zone 4, Nipco Oil at Wuse Zone 2, and Rita Lorry and AA Renault at Area 3, Rain Oil Petrol Station at Gwarimpa, and Con Oil at Jabi also. Let's talk about oil prices now. They have pulled back slightly, and that's after the surging of above $130 earlier today, but it still remains at 13-year high. And this is coming after from Germany, after it announced the country has no plans to halt Russian energy imports, indications that the U.S. is exploring replacement barrels from Venezuela and Saudi Arabia. International benchmark Brent crude advanced at about 4.58% to $123.6 a barrel, and that's as at 9:55 p.m. local time today. The prices have jumped yesterday as the market reacted to supply disruptions stemming from Russia's ongoing invasion of Ukraine and a statement made by U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken for a possible ban on Russian oil and natural gas imports. We head to the local market now, where benchmark indicators started the week in the red. Investors are still continuing to make profit on Seplat and some mid-cap equities. Will Ibong has the details.
Hello and welcome to the Stock Market Report. The equities market has refused to buck the trend, while the market index is still bearish, although marginally down by 0.01%. Corporate actions from bellwethers have been quite impressive, especially dividend payouts, but investors are still trading cautiously. Now, this is not a major warning for equities, as technicals still show some positive signals. This is reflected in today's green activity chart. Now, we're moving on to the sector's performance on key indexes was mostly positive as well, except for the oil and gas, which dropped by 2.4% today, and no thanks to Seplat Energy. Investors slammed the brakes on Seplat, causing it to shed 44 naira off its share price to close at 919 naira. The banking sector still dominated top trade in today's session, with Jay's Bank in the lead. Cornerstone Insurance led the high flyers, while Niger Insurance led the underperforming stocks. Now, will investors ramp up spending on defense stocks or will they place a premium on steady earnings? We'll continue to keep an eye out, and that's the Stock Market Report. I'm Willie Bong. It's back to you.
And that's business news for tonight. Thank you for watching. I'm Anne Nwawodo. The rest of the news at 10 continues now with Millicent.
Banking, so easy, so simple. Dial *894# now to experience it. You first, First Bank.
Thank you, Anne. Ukraine says Russian shelling is still preventing the evacuation of civilians from besieged cities. Attacks are set to continue despite a proposal from Russia to create safe escape routes out of Kyiv, Mariupol, Sumy and Kharkiv. For more on this and other international news, here's Simon Pusey with Around the World in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the Channel Studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. Ukraine has again accused Russian troops of breaking a ceasefire as refugees are trying to leave. Attacks are said to continue despite a proposal from Russia to create safe escape routes for Ukrainian citizens. They lied to us. They told us there will be a ceasefire window during daylight, says the mayor of Mariupol, one of the worst affected cities. Ukraine says 2,000 civilians had been evacuated from Irpin, a Kyiv suburb, under heavy attack. Meanwhile, President Volodymyr Zelensky has said everyone who commits atrocities against Ukraine's civilians will be punished. Ukrainian officials say Russia is striking civilian targets around the country, including hospitals, nurseries and schools. He said, "There will be no quiet place on earth for you, except for the grave." Russia's invasion of Ukraine has prompted foreign fighters to volunteer to join Ukrainian soldiers in defending the country. In footage distributed by the Ukrainian Armed Forces Press Service, 2 fighters, one from Mexico and another from the United Kingdom, were seen deployed in trenches in the Kyiv region. Last week, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said 16,000 foreigners had volunteered to fight for the country.
I'm fighting for democracy because democracy is precious and one man shouldn't decide that another country shouldn't have it.
Boris Johnson is holding talks with the Canadian and Dutch Prime Ministers in London as Western powers prepare to agree further sanctions on Russia. But the government's refugee policy is coming under scrutiny after it was confirmed over the weekend that only 50 applicants had been successful so far. Boris Johnson said the UK would be very generous to refugees, but would not let people in without any checks.
What we won't do, let me be very clear, what we won't do is have a system where people can come into the UK without any checks or any controls at all. I don't think that is the right approach, but what we will do is have a system that is very, very generous.
The extensive criminal trial about the downing of flight MH17 has continued today.
De rechtbank leeft mee met de bevolking.
4 men could face life imprisonment if convicted. 3 suspects have not responded to calls from the court and have not appointed lawyers to represent them. All 298 people on board the Malaysia Airlines plane died, with authorities believing that pro-Russian separatists accidentally shot it down. At least 4 people, including 2 children, have died after an apartment block collapsed in Ivory Coast's commercial capital of Abidjan. Rescuers used torches to search through the mounds of broken concrete and carried out 30 people alive. Firefighters were called to the 5-story building in the Kokodi neighborhood shortly after midnight. 13 people were taken to hospital. The number of people in the building when it collapsed was not immediately clear. Homes and vehicles were submerged by floodwater in the Malaysian capital Kuala Lumpur following torrential rains. The fire department travelled in rubber dinghies looking for residents in need of help, while others did their best to deal with the aftermath of floodwaters in their homes. Monday's downpour comes just weeks after around 120,000 people were displaced following severe flooding in 8 states in mid-December and early January. And Ed Sheeran has told the High Court he does not borrow ideas from unknown songwriters without their credit. Here, leaving court today, the singer-songwriter said he had cleared parts of songs with lots of unknown artists. Sammy Chokri and Ross O'Donoghue, here arriving at the trial in London, accuse him of copying parts of his 2017 hit, Shape of You. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel studios in Lagos.
Many thanks, Simon. The return leg of the UEFA Champions League round of 16 kicks off on Tuesday night, and Liverpool FC manager Jurgen Klopp says the Italian side Inter Milan are not coming to Liverpool as tourists, even though they are trailing 2-0 after the first leg. Liverpool are well placed to qualify for the quarter-finals at Anfield after Roberto Firmino and Mohamed Salah scored in Italy last month.
The danger everyone knows about, so it's a 2-0. I think it's the lead which got turned over most often in the history of football. So because if you have them at half-time being 2-0 up, and you have a team who thinks we are halfway through, then you are already on the wrong path.
On the flip side, Inter Milan manager Simone Inzaghi says his team are going to Anfield aiming to reach the Champions League quarter-final stage, despite the odds being firmly against them by the Liverpoolians. Well, Inzaghi faces an unenviable task of trying to become the second ever team to overturn a 2-goal home leg deficit in a knockout tie against the Liverpool team, which has won its last 12 matches and not lost at home in a year. And Bayern Munich goalkeeper Manuel Neuer has been ruled fit to play in Tuesday's Champions League return leg against RB Salzburg following his recovery from a knee injury. Well, Neuer, who had missed the 1-1 first leg draw in Austria, has been out for a month after having knee surgery in the month of February. His services will be high in demand on Tuesday, with Bayern desperate to remain in the running for European silverware. And Armand Duplantis has broken his own world record on the pole vault earlier today, clearing 6.19 meters at his third attempt at the indoor meeting in Belgrade. The 22-year-old Swedish Olympic champion had held the record since February 2020, when he cleared 6.17 meters in Torun in Poland and then 6.18 meters in Glasgow, a week apart. And the Russian Paralympic Committee team has arrived back in Moscow following its exclusion from the ongoing Beijing 2022 Winter Paralympic Games. 71 athletes touched down on home soil days after the International Paralympic Committee performed a U-turn, banning athletes from Russia and Belarus from competing because of the ongoing invasion of Ukraine. And that's a wrap on Sports News.
Thank you, today. And the main news again. The governor of Niger State, Abba Bello, today announced his takeover of the chairmanship of the All Progressives Congress amid heavy police presence at the party secretariat in Abuja, just as Governor Bonny's caretaker committee maintains it's still in charge of the party's affairs. Also today, the chairman of the EFCC, Abdulrasheed Bauer, gave an account of his stewardship 1 year after he assumed duty. He said the commission has recorded over 2,000 convictions and recovered assets worth over 152 billion naira. That's news at 10 tonight. Thank you for watching. I'm Millicent Walker. Have a good night. Stay safe.